Good morning, everyone. Did you go to sleep last night watching the election, refreshing the page to see if it was going to change before you fell asleep? I went to bed around 10:30. Same thing I did in 2016. I didn't think Trump was going to win in 2016, and when I went to bed last night, I said, I think Trump's probably going to win, but I don't know. And that was kind of how I left it. And I think this meme is a good way to start things. They stopped counting the votes last night. In key states, in Democrat states, I'll show you which ones, or a couple of the ones that did that. And there's a lot of very, very interesting things that happened. But I made a prediction yesterday on Speaking Moistly that the press looked out of control in 2016. The tantrum meltdowns were epic, right? And there were YouTube memes made of it, and it was very funny. And I said they learned a lesson. I said they're not going to look out of control this time. They're just not going to let it faze them. They're just not going to report on it. It didn't happen if they didn't report it, right? And so they slow played a lot of Trump victories, a lot of Trump states, and kind of bookended it with Biden calls with much less. I saw one they called California with just counting the mail-in ballot. I don't know why. I don't know why. I do know why. So we'll get into some of that. Here's an Aussie who likes to watch the election, and he says this was last night. Okay, and here we go.
All right, peeps. Trump has already won, and they refuse to call it. Let me explain. Okay, you need 270 to win. Okay, everything that's dark, red or blue, they're calling for which side. So they're saying Biden's got 238 and Trump's got 213. All right. Now look what's being contested in the light color. All right. All these states. Okay. What's Biden contesting? Nevada. What's it worth? 6. It's worth 6 electoral college votes. 6 plus 238 is 244. That's all he can do. Trump, however, has 16 votes Georgia that's being contested. North Carolina, 15, 20, Pennsylvania, 16, Michigan, Wisconsin, 10. They're not calling these on purpose, okay? They're not calling them on purpose, okay? So if you add all of these up, 10, 16, 20, 15, 16, it will give Trump 290, okay? 290. Then they will take the Senate and they will take the House. He's on 65 million votes, right? That's 1.6 behind Biden, plus all these other states. Game over. He's already won. They know he's already won. And this is exactly why the betting odds are $1.15 in Trump's favour. The news might be lying, but the money makers don't. Money makes the world go around.
So I looked at the betting odds, and it seems like negative is better. And it seems like Biden is the favorite here. And here's this morning. Biden is the favorite by 400. So in the positive, it's bad. Negative, it's good. That's a big underdog, right? So very interesting. Here's Brian Lilley and a bit of controlled opposition to, make our morning complete. This electoral map reflects what the Aussie there was talking about. He says basically the election's done. If all states stay as they are now when it comes to states 1 and leaners, then Donald Trump wins. That's pretty much it, right? And well, I mean, they're concerned because one of the 6 states is Pennsylvania, but I don't think that Biden's really in play there. But, right? Votes left to count in states that aren't called yet. Okay, so you've got Wisconsin, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Alaska. Current margins, Biden's winning Wisconsin by 7,000 votes, and there's 169,000 left to count. Georgia, Trump is winning Georgia by 102,000 votes with 301 votes left to count, apparently. This is according to some data that I saw this morning. North Carolina, Trump's up 76,000 with 348,000 left to count, roughly. Michigan, same 65,000 lead for Trump and 699,000 left to count. Nevada, 7,000 lead for Biden with 589 left to count. Pennsylvania, 675,000 lead for Trump with 2 million left to count. So that could swing. And Alaska's got 46,000 vote lead roughly for Trump and 207,000 votes. Now, that paints a pretty clear picture to me. I think if you flip the names, I think that's a clear winner, right? People are in the media are saying definitely win, 100%. But at 3 a.m., Painful Memes says 3 a.m. Trump was leading Wisconsin by 110,000 votes with 93% reporting. Now they're saying Biden is up by 20,000 with 95% reporting. The only way that 400,000 votes equals 2% is if there were 20 million votes. They're stealing Wisconsin, so says Painful Memes. Darn, I hate typing on mobile. He said, math doesn't lie. And he says, to both Michigan and Wisconsin have vertical lines where Biden votes are injected in. Okay, that's not the right way. Here's, right? And then I'm in the way here, so I'll just there's your, I don't know if you guys can see it here. I'll use the mouse to point to it. But they're vertical lines. Votes don't usually do that. Where are those votes coming from? That seems odd, right? That seems very strange. Doesn't it? Yeah, I think that seems strange, right? Zoom in. He says, I'll zoom in to really point it out to you. This is odd. Came out of nowhere, right? Very interesting. Here's CP24. It says, explaining race calls, presidential race, too early to call. I don't know. And here's Jagmeet Singh inserting himself into the election, the presidential election. Now, okay, hold on. Before I get into the Canadian news, because this starts us kind of off into the Canadian news, is there more Trump stuff? No, it's mostly that. I hope that Trump wins. I think that the path for Trump victory is very clear. I think that a path for a Romney, a Biden victory is through, delay tactics and blah, 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 blah. So the longer this goes on without a declared winner, the worse it is. I think Trump won. I think that he will become the president again, I think. But we'll see. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen, right? I thought it was going to be a bigger margin. Who could vote for Biden in good conscience? I don't see it. I don't like, even if you're a liberal-minded person and you look at what they did to that man during the campaign with his handlers and the people who campaigned for him and put him up on stage and cut away from him when he lost his train of thought and really weren't honest with what they were offering to voters, right? And you can look past that if you want to. Like, certainly you can, right? There's certain, sure, right? You're never the bad guy in your own story, right? And if you look past all of those shortcomings for Biden and the shortcomings of the Democratic Party and the absolute farce that was a campaign that they run, and how Kamala Harris is like the worst pick for VP that they could have made. I mean, if you could look past all of that, I suppose, sure, why not vote for him? But how could you look past all of that? I don't know. Maybe one or two, right? Maybe one or two or three of those things. Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, like, that's a nothing burger. That's nothing. Man, if that was one of the Trump kids, I think that's something. So, and not to say that it needs breathless reporting, but I think honest reporting, right? There's a lot wrong with the political discourse. And I think that this is showing how brazen the fraud can be, and people will just accept it. If the Supreme Court tomorrow says Biden's president, I don't know what would happen, right? I think maybe nothing. And Trump would fight it, and Trump would be fighting the same people who he's fought his entire presidency, and he'd be disarmed because he's lost one of the layers of protection. Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen, and I can't wait to find out. I don't think that the Trump team is surprised by this, right? I really don't. I don't think that they were surprised by this. So we'll have to see what their strategy is, because I think they'll have a strategy, right? Trump's strategy yesterday was to address people and say he claimed victory. He said we won, like I said, if the names were swapped on these, they would be declaring victory for Biden, right? But because it's Trump, they're not. I think that this is interesting. Jagmeet Singh inserting himself into an American election. He says yesterday on election day at high noon, 12:15, he says, vote him out. In 4 years, Donald Trump has placed kids in cages. That was Obama and Biden. Fan the flames of hatred and division. Could you give me an example? Failed 230,000 Americans left dead because of COVID-19. 230,000 Americans left dead. The whole COVID-19, pinning this on Trump, the virus came from China, number one. And number two, nobody would let any of the proven safe on humans drugs be used. They were putting people into old age homes, etc. Like all of the nuance, all of the minutia, that's like the details, are being left out in this tweet in favor of a worldview that is easily disproved. And this is a leader of a major political party. I say again, I don't understand, and goes back to Biden. I mean, Jagmeet Singh is obviously in full control of himself. He's not losing his mind like Joe Biden is, or he's senile or anything like that. As far as I can tell, anyway, I haven't seen any images or videos that made me question if he can continue a train of thought from beginning to end. Right. So I'm not worried about that. But the fact that he's willingly misleading people in order to insert himself into a foreign election is not appropriate for a leader of a political party. It's really, really un-Canadian. I'll finish the tweet. Trump makes the world a more dangerous place for all of us, and I hope to see him lose. What a jerk. What a jerk, Jagmeet. What a jerk. Here's Andrew Lawton. He says, normally I'd be concerned about the ramifications of such a comment from a party leader should they become prime minister and have to sit across the negotiation table from the person they're attacking. But it's Jagmeet Singh, so no point in entertaining hypotheticals. Yeah, I mean, Jagmeet Singh's not going to win the prime ministership. He's basically made his party lapdogs to the Liberals. They're like backbenchers. It's actually quite a joke. They're broke. They can't run an election. They can't hold the Liberals accountable in their balance of power, and they're playing the same power games that the Trudeau Liberals are playing, but they're losing because they're ceding all of their power to Trudeau. Yeah, we'll hold them accountable by not doing anything and voting against holding them accountable at every chance we get. What we documents. Christia Freeland. Stephanie Robinson says, what in the world is this supposed to mean? Canada ready to help U.S. in case of post-election disruption. Freeland. I don't think anybody wants Ms. Freeland's help, least of all the United States, least of all this administration in the United States. They don't like Freeland, and they've made that really clear. So, I mean, she can, her and Jagmeet can go share a Trump derangement syndrome cocktail somewhere while they wait the recounts in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Okay, on to We documents. Wikipedia probe finds illicit editing of We charity pages. Illicit editing. I think it's such a distraction because you could bring down this government on this scandal, and you're not going to. They're not going to. Here's Liberals continue filibuster over We affair at Commons Ethics Committee. They're doing distractionary journalism, talking about other stuff, a lot of American stuff. When what they could be and should be focusing on is why aren't the opposition minority parliament, the opposition parties coming together to hold this government accountable to get these documents? Why are we in a situation where the Liberals, commanding minority on this committee, are filibustering it over We documents and threatening elections and not willing to answer questions they don't like, which is what they did with their majority. Now, if we had an election, do I think that it would be any different than a Liberal majority? Probably not. But the Liberals need to be held accountable, and they're not being held accountable. And it's unbelievable that they would probably win a majority. But man, after watching yesterday's election, I think they could just say, yeah, we want 196 seats. And then that'll just happen, 2 in Alberta. Why not? Because the Liberals have been so transparent. Yay. Yes, I'm saying that they can pretty much decide their election outcome. I mean, look at a lot of the stuff that's happening now. We had a presidential election. Like, the presidential election is supposed to be the gold standard of freedom, right? Let's bring freedom to the Middle East, everyone. Yeah, let's bring them freedom with our big bombs and our big war machines. You just have to give us a little bit of oil. No problem, freedom. Anyway, regardless of all of that, it's just disingenuous, right? It's just disingenuous to believe that this democratic process is beyond corruption, and that our democratic process is also beyond corruption. I was silenced by Twitter. I was hounded by Antifa. I was protested and all of that other stuff, and that's whatever. The protesting, fine, protest away. I don't care about that. But the limiting of the ability to gather more supporters is the purposeful effect of doing these things. Silencing on Twitter, the technological silencing. They've got an agenda and they're moving forward with it, and they will roll over you. And even if you're the president of the United States, right? And Canada, we're no better. We're no better. Okay, Liberals continue to filibuster over We affair. No better. We're way, way worse. Way worse, because nobody even understands the level of corruption that we've got in this country with regards to cronyism with regards to giving contracts to friends, SNC Lavalin, all of the PPE and the ventilators, just to name a couple off the top of my head. Seriously, like this is third world country stuff. Keep your buddies in power because it lines your pockets with taxpayer dollars, right? And we're on the hook for trillions, right? Our debt has just skyrocketed. It's unbelievable. And we don't have a realistic way of fixing the problem because nobody is interested in fixing it. They're just interested in getting rid of Donald Trump, orange man bad. Who's going to be their bad guy when he's gone? Really? Right? Like orange man bad, Jagmeet Singh. What about, like, weren't you supposed to be the champion of somebody or other? Get lost, jerk. Okay, yeah, filibustering. Sorry, diatribe. Back to this. In the end, the committee adjourned. Okay, the House of Commons Ethics Committee continues to be stuck on a motion to examine government spending during the COVID-19 pandemic and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's relationship with We Charity. Liberal MPs occupied most of 2 hours with ruminations on the role of Parliament, the proper business of the Ethics Committee, and the value of the organizations the other parties' MPs want to examine. In the end, the committee adjourned without taking a vote, and its chair, David Sweet, said he wasn't sure when it could meet again. Oh man, I don't know when we could meet again. Because you keep asking all those questions we don't like, and we just don't answer questions we don't like. Sorry. Back to this. The motion is a third attempt at examining the conflict of interest in the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic after 2 tries to probe Trudeau's relationship with We Charity, each failed by 1. Oh, shucks. Charlie Angus was 1, and the Bloc Québécois on an, translation error. Oh no, we just couldn't, I didn't understand. Yes, we no. Oh, sorry. Back to this. The motion before the committee was proposed Monday by NDP MP Charlie Angus before it was amended twice to expand its scope beyond we. Liberal MP Brenda Shanahan spoke for 30 minutes at the beginning of the committee's meeting, saying that the proposed probe is now too broad. This is a fishing expedition. They're going on a wild goose chase, she said. Now, they wanted to expand the probe because they didn't want to focus on the Prime Minister's mother and brother. And they were saying, well, we'll make it fair. We'll look at all the spending and all the spending in the pandemic because, we've got to examine all of it. Okay, fine, we'll do that. So they expanded it, and now they're saying, oh man, they're just going on a fishing expedition. They want to catch us in a lie. You're lying all the time. All the time, you liars. Lying liars, you liberals. Anyway, so Francois Legault got a call from Macron after supporting his free speech stance, Macron's free speech stance, which has triggered a rash of terrorist attacks in France from Islamic extremists. But all of that's aside. Here, Trudeau, I think it's after, maybe at the same time as the phone call, makes a bit of a reversal on his former comments about free speech and free expression in Canada. So here's the update. National Post is reporting, and this is just 2 hours ago. Trudeau makes sudden course correction on freedom of speech. Justin Trudeau was asked by a reporter on Tuesday whether he condemns the publication of cartoons caricaturing the Prophet Muhammad. No, he said definitively in French. I think it's important to continue to defend freedom of expression and freedom of speech. Our artists help us to reflect and challenge our views, and they contribute to our society. Lest there was any room for confusion about the Prime Minister's free speech credentials, he reinforced that point in English. Our journalists, our artists have an important challenge function in our society, and we need to leave them free to do their work. I've always believed that, and I have always said it. At least he had the decency to look sheepish, because of course that's not what he always said. Those with prodigious memories will recall it was last Friday that the Prime Minister said something quite different. When he was asked at last week's press conference whether we should be able to laugh at religion or make fun of the Muslim prophet, Trudeau defended freedom of expression but said there are limits to those freedoms. We do not have the right to shout fire in a movie theater crowded with people, he said. In a pluralistic, diverse society, people have to be aware of the impact of their words and actions, particularly on groups that experience discrimination, he added, scrolling down. On Monday, Quebec Premier Francois Legault made it known that he today totally disagreed with Trudeau's equivocation of freedom of expression, despite his own government's stance on the wearing of religious symbols by teachers and civil servants in its own secularism law. Instead, Legault backed French President Emmanuel Macron, who has vocally supported the right to make fun of religion. On his Facebook page on Tuesday, the Quebec Premier revealed that he received a call from Macron thanking him for his support in defending freedom of expression, a posting all the more delicious because it is clear that Trudeau did not get one. It appears that the Prime Minister's sociological musings did not resonate with Canada's voters either, given the course correction on Tuesday, meaning that didn't poll well, right? Here's Francois Legault's tweet, right? It's in French, but interesting to read. Link is in the description. Moving to Ontario, Ontario unveils a new tiered system for restrictions, indoor dining to return. I don't like this at all. There's no pathway to repealing the mandatory mask garbage, and we're going to get into masks in a minute. There's no data to back this up. Now, I was going to go and update all of this data for you, and I will update it. It's just it was going to take a few minutes, and I wanted to actually get my show out this morning. Got lots to do. Got places to go to talk about the American election. Not really. Well, I'm going for lunch. We're going for burritos, I think. Maybe the airport. We'll see. Anyway, regardless, I don't like this. It says the Ford government has unveiled a new color-coded tiered system for imposing and lifting COVID-19 restrictions in Ontario. The COVID-19 response framework, the province has introduced a color-coded tiered system to apply to sector-specific cases. The full level of the COVID-19 response framework, which applies to sector-specific cases are, and here they are, right? Pop it up. Okay, there we go. The green is called prevent. The yellow is called protect. The orange is restrict, the red is control, and gray is maximum measures lockdown. The thing is, it says if you get to the health system capacity, in green it says hospital and ICU capacity adequate. Yellow it says hospital and ICU capacity adequate. Restrict says hospital and ICU capacity adequate or occupancy increasing. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means nothing. It means nothing. Without definitions and clear tiers, etc., it means nothing. They try and put tiers in the epidemiology part. So like weekly incident rate is 10 to 39. What's an incidence? What's an incidence? What counts as an incidence? Is an incidence a confirmed case regardless of symptoms? Is incidence and a lab confirmed case can still be a false positive because we're using PCR tests that are cycled too high. And this is not unknown. This is just ignored. Just like the number of deaths being low is completely ignored. The second wave doesn't have a second wave of deaths, right? The second wave of cases is cases, but the hospitalizations and the ICU are far from capacity. The deaths are minimal. We're not seeing a huge increase in deaths, and nobody's paying any attention to this, right? Nobody's paying any attention to this. Nobody wants to bring that into the zeitgeist of talking about this pathway out of this, I guess. I don't know. It's frustrating because that's not the right one. Hold on. It's frustrating because it seems like all they're looking at is this number here, right? Cases. Look at all those cases. But then when you get to the deaths, there's the first wave. We flatten the curve of the second wave of deaths, right? 16 and 14, November 3rd and 4th. I would love to see where those cases came from and what date those people passed away. And I would love to see their like the death certificate. What other comorbidities did they have, right? So very, very, very concerning. And the confidence in our public health is just shaken, absolutely shaken. Why would you believe these people when they ignore this data? And they are ignoring this data. Here's Jim Watson. He says, please see my statement regarding today's announcement by Premier Ford. For a link to that letter, Dr. Etches provided me. Please visit here. So he's saying that thank you, Mr. Ford, for giving us a pathway to open our businesses and stuff. I don't think this is enough. I was going to say as well, don't get too familiar with this. In a week or so, they're going to change it, just like they changed the charts and the data, right? Like if it starts to paint a picture that they don't want to paint, they just change it. It's just frustrating because they're behaving as if it's in our best interest, and it just really isn't. But yeah, all this language here is muddy to say the least, and without clear guidelines, and even if we meet the guidelines, like the mask mandates, etc., they're not going anywhere, and that's not appropriate. Not appropriate at all. Where's the emergency? Here's John Tory also responding to the pandemic recovery framework. For some reason, at the request of Mayor John Tory and the city's medical officer of health, Toronto won't see restrictions eased until next Saturday, November 14th, after Remembrance Day. The province's other hotspots, Peel, York, and Ottawa, will see restrictions ease this Saturday, allowing for indoor dining and gyms to reopen. I'm angry on behalf of the people of Toronto because they can't open their restaurants and all of that other stuff right now. Honestly, just ridiculous. This guy I don't trust at all. Weasel. Ottawa Citizens reporting, Ottawa school boards can now make their own decisions about COVID-19 closures adjustments province. I don't trust the school boards at all. The trustees, not a bit. And go to my website to check out why. There's 10 videos or more, 7 videos, 8 videos in the series. But check out this video series to find out why I'm not trusting our school boards and our school trustees. But the Ottawa Citizens reporting, the province will allow local trustees to decide what form of schooling is safe for Ontario's 2 million elementary and secondary students as we head into a long, uncertain coronavirus winter. Decisions about whether schools will operate full-time, part-time, or close in favor of online education at home will be left up to school boards acting on the advice of their medical officers of health, according to Education Minister Stephen Lacey's office. That's, I think that having schools open and etc., regardless of how much I disagree with a lot of the curriculum currently being offered, for mental health of the kids, they need to be interacting with their peers, etc. And again, why are we ceding dictatorial power to local health officials without the ability for parents to get a second opinion? Like the school board gets to ask the medical, oh, do you think blah, blah, blah? Okay, yeah, let's close the schools. I hope they don't abuse the power. I hope they don't. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the school boards. They haven't done anything to earn my trust. And when I try and address problems with them, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I'm the problem. And that's plausible. Absolutely plausible. Maybe I am doing it wrong, but I try to follow the rules and I try to do it the way it's laid out to do. If you have a problem, contact this person and blah, 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 follow the bouncing ball, right? Because that's the only way to try and solve a problem. But when you get to the end and they say, we're going to ignore you and not address any of your problems, because that's exactly what happened. Not address any of the issues that you've brought up, that we continually put out news statements and press statements saying that we're sensitive to all issues, blah, blah, blah. When that's clearly not true, then like, what's your recourse? The law. But if you take a school board to court, let me tell you a secret, you'll lose. You'll lose. And that cost me money to find out, right? To make sure. I was like, here's what I think they did wrong, and here's what I think, blah, blah, blah. And the lawyer said, yeah, you have a strong case, but it's a school board. You can't do it. I was like, okay. I thought it was true, but yep. But I'm not complaining. I'm trying to tell you how even if you try to engage, even if you try to say, let's work together to come to some agreement, right? You say you're beyond reproach. You say you're anti-racist, right? Oh, the highest moral standards, until you actually question us on it, right? And then how do you address that when they're just blatant racists and liars? You address it like this, I suppose. Anyway, the Pfizer chief, moving into more COVID stuff, Randy Hillier is saying, former chief science officer for Pfizer, the second wave is faked. It's not even faked. They're just ignoring it. It's just being ignored. The second wave of what? The second wave of what? People die. I think more people die on the 401 than COVID. Can maybe not daily. I'm not sure. Do 9 people die on the 401? 6, 16, 14? Maybe some days. But for all-cause death, and I would love to see the rest of the stats for Ontario. Maybe I don't know where to find that, but maybe I'll look into that. But the rest of all-cause death, how many other people are dying, and of what daily, right? I don't think that the deaths have meaningfully increased. So the chief science officer for Pfizer said the second wave is faked. We are basing government policy, says Randy Hillier, an economic policy, a civil liberties policy in terms of limiting people to 6 people in a meeting, all based on what may well be a completely fake data on this coronavirus. Yeah. Here's Dr. Claire Craig, and she says, she's not a blue check mark, but she says, anyone who thinks a lockdown will save lives in excess of the ones it causes, I think maybe deaths it causes, needs to explain how COVID deaths have been increasing faster than hospital admissions and ITU admissions. These data points do not relate to each other anymore. They are an artifact of faulty testing. So I'm worried that our tests are incorrect and at worst giving false positives. This just made me laugh. I just went, ha. People are willing to go so far, and then it's like, F it. Nope. And how many people are going to run out and get their 3? Now, they might get their next mask might be like 3 layered, but honestly, it says, well, here, I'll go to the news article. I'll leave that. Canada's top public health doctor now recommends 3-layer non-medical masks. Wait till next week when she recommends N95s. And then the week after when she says, no, healthy people shouldn't wear masks. And then the week after when she says, yeah, you should probably wear a mask, but maybe not. I don't know. Dr. Tam says the science behind masks has accelerated. Here's the other part. I would love for them to walk me through the science. Walk me through the science, Dr. Tam. Do a 6-minute YouTube video showing me exactly why you believe masks will help slow the spread and why all of the other concerns are not that concerning. I may pay attention again then, but at this point in time, I don't trust you. I don't trust your health office. I don't trust the local health officials. Seriously, again, there have been 0 reasons to trust these people. None. They've been wrong on everything, and they use faulty models based on faulty data, based on faulty tests. Garbage. Absolute garbage. I will completely ignore this, but I'll tell you that this is news. Here we go. The Public Health Agency of Canada is now recommending Canadians choose 3-layer non-medical masks with a filter layer to prevent the spread of COVID-19 as they prepare to spend more time indoors over the winter. Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Theresa Tam made the recommendation during her bi-weekly pandemic briefing in Ottawa Tuesday. To improve the level of protection that can be provided by non-medical masks or face coverings, we are recommending that you consider a 3-layer non-medical mask, she said. We're not necessarily saying just throw out everything you have, Tam told reporters, suggesting adding a filter can help with protection. The public health website now includes instructions for making 3-layered masks. If masks work, why are we seeing all the new cases, right? The whole idea behind the masks originally was that the masks, when the masks mandate came in, and this was like here, right, June, July, when masks were used in other jurisdictions, that they saw cases decline. And we didn't see cases increase once masks were kind of implemented. And now we're seeing cases increase exponentially, quite a lot. We're not seeing a similar increase in hospitalizations, deaths, or ICU visits, but we're seeing a massive amount of cases. And we're still mandating masks, and we're not even looking at repealing it, and we are ignoring the fact that the deaths are very low. It's, again, I say frustrating because just crazy. And Saskatchewan, they're going to impose mandatory masks for Regina, Saskatoon, and Prince Albert. Does this have anything to do with the virus? Honestly, I don't believe any of this garbage. I would love somebody to walk me through the masks. Send me a video of somebody genuinely trying to walk through masks, how they help, and not doing it with models. I think it's modeling that is absolute garbage. And I understand. And also, they can't be talking about how it cuts down on spittle because the virus is much smaller than the particles that they're talking about. It's much smaller than 5 micrograms? No, it's way smaller than that. But anyway, it's the virus itself. It ants to a chain link fence, as far as I understand it. So if you can prove to me that the virus is like a tennis ball to a chain link fence, and that the chain link fence is somehow being applied by mask, maybe. But I don't believe it. I don't believe Saskatchewan's Mo. I don't believe Toronto's Tam. I don't believe it. I don't believe it because nobody is giving me any reason to believe it. The province will be mandating masks in some Saskatchewan major cities after reporting 81 new cases of COVID-19 on Tuesday. The other reason that I didn't update my chart as well is because it doesn't matter how many cases there are. They're just going to do this anyway. It doesn't matter how many cases there are. They don't care. They're just doing this anyway. It has nothing to do with our health. It has nothing to do with good for you. It has nothing to do with, we just want you to be safe. It has everything to do with control and fealty to it. Put your mask on, you sheep. Back to this. Quote, we all need to take our personal responsibility very seriously, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe said on Tuesday. I don't like wearing a mask more than anyone else, but I'm going to do it to keep those around me and those I care about safe. Starting November 6th, masks will be required in Saskatoon, Regina, and Prince Albert when people are in indoor public spaces. The correct action here is not to conflate this with you're protecting other people, because you are not. You're not protecting other people. If you put a piece of cloth over your mouth and then you cough and you have a virus, the virus is going to get right through. And the thing about it is there are no studies that show masks reduce the risk of, or reduce the spread of respiratory virus. There are none. They don't exist. So they're going to have a hard time convincing me that these things work. And a hard time convincing me that somebody else isn't pulling the strings. How can you come to this conclusion? How do you come to this conclusion, Scott Moe? How do you think that the mask protects other people? Have you done any reading on it at all? What reading? Let us know. Here's an opinion piece. Chrystia Freeland and her meaningless slogans. Yeah, slogans are maybe great for selling headache remedies and antacid pills, but they're no way to run a country. Yeah, I don't like Freeland's slogans. I don't like Freeland though. The mama is not equal to chopped liver. I don't know what that meant. I don't care what that meant. I didn't like the dress, the purple dress, the unending purple dress. I didn't like the tone deaf way they negotiated the USMCA. Anyway, Steve Gellibo he says, it's a big day in Ottawa. I just tabled Bill C-10, the Broadcast Modernization Act. Stay tuned for details. Oh, yay. Can't wait. You know what they're doing? They're taxing Netflix. I talked about it like earlier this week on my show. I was like, oh my goodness, I should stop talking about things like that. Yikes. But Ryan Greaves says the Liberals want to tax streaming services, which will raise the cost for consumers. Stephen Harper warned that the Liberals might do this in 2015. Yeah. Yep. I mean, what are you going to do, right? Lots of people are canceling Netflix. Paying tax on Netflix? I don't know. Netflix should be right here too, right? They're advancing they're walking truth right to the front of the firing squad here. Cuties, right? I don't know. There's lots wrong. And the people who are supposed to be in charge of holding the line of freedom of expression, of holding the line of our culture and our traditions and our history, the people in charge of educating our children and handing them off into the next generation and making sure that they're the best they can be and the best Canadians they can be, right? Are abdicating their duty. They're not doing their job. Look at that. That's like a Jafar sneer, not a smear, sneer, right? Like we watched Aladdin, right? If he had a mustache or like a longer mustache that he could twirl and a big hat, I'd believe that he was a genie. Okay, that's enough out of me. I'm concerned, but you know that. You're concerned too. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com, check out CanadaReport.co, check out SpeakingMoistly.co, and have a wonderful, wonderful